Originally, I like to say that I'm cisgender, hetero flexible female, but when I think about the role that I play in the BDSM community and the role that I very much like to wear, I'm a dominant female, which does go against a lot of cultural cisgender norms. My husband very much enjoys a dominant female. I very much enjoy being a dominant female. We've had to learn our voice in it. You know, when I first started, I kind of assumed that me being dominant meant some extremes. You know, if I was dominant, that means that I had to fully embrace being the mean side of myself, the kind of sadistic side of myself. So it took realizing that, you know, no, if I want to make this work, how do I make the parts of myself and the things that I care about, being a dominant female, work with the things that he cares about, you know? I like pain and humiliation. He likes to inflict pain and humiliation is what I like. He likes dominant tenderness. And there was a lot of trial and error in what that meant. What that even meant is being a feminist. You know, here I was starting off in the kink community and really starting to get involved in it. And I had just quit my job, so I had pretty much completely become dependent on my husband. And at the same time, here I was, you know, wearing a strap-on and enjoying pegging and enjoying dressing him up and humiliating him and talking about how insignificant he is in front of others. And I love him, I adore him, I think he's amazing and I think he's wonderful, but that was part of finding the voice, is that I don't think he's insignificant. I don't think that he's completely unsatisfying, but it also comes down to it's what makes him tick. So I had to find that proper voice to feel like, well, what parts of you are unsatisfying? How do I make this into my own idea? As proud as I am, and as much as I want to scream it from the rooftops, oh my God, I'm a dominant female, it's not exactly the eagerest guy in the world to say, hey, I enjoy coming home from work, from being Mr. Manager in my big important job and having my wife control every move and control my orgasms. But it's a huge part of our sexuality, and I think BDSM has definitely given us an opportunity to understand the fluidity of what human sexuality is. It doesn't conform to norms. You know, the funny thing was that I actually got into BDSM completely by accident. I stumbled upon my mom's Sleeping Beauty Chronicles by Anne Rice, like way back in the day. I think I was maybe like 9 or 10 when I first found them. They were like hidden in the basement because she says they were too heavy for her to read, not what she was expecting. I was intrigued because I knew there were these books that my mom didn't want to read, so I like snuck them up to my room, and I ended up, like, within the first couple of pages, I was super hooked. It was something that I'd never thought about, and, you know, the funny thing is that when I was little, I always used to fantasize about, and it sounds weird to say, but I was, 5 at the time, but I always used to fantasize about people in cages, like in a zoo, and somehow that was a really hot idea for me. So when I got older and I saw like these Sleeping Beauty books, it kind of associated with me that, well, other people must think this too. So it didn't seem yet that it was something that was kind of in a minority. Those books influenced me a lot at an early age. I mean, they were some of my very first masturbation material. Not a big giant mystery. It's not something super exotic. It's not something that only like a select few do. It's experiencing sensation play. That's what it is. It's eliciting a response that you wouldn't normally get out of different sensations that you don't normally do. It's a lot of power play. It involves a lot of power play. It at its core, when I think of myself as a BDSM practitioner, BDSM is about a healthy communication between consenting individuals that want to really, if you think of a sundae, it's just taking a vanilla sundae and adding all the goodies on top. It's taking something and making it just a little bit better for yourself. It's just exploring a little bit more into what you already know you like. I think the misconceptions around BDSM are pretty strong, and they're usually revolved around a lot of people thinking that people who practice BDSM, they're either in unhealthy relationships, or they're sexually deviant, or they're perverted, or there must be something psychologically wrong with someone to either want to be submissive, or what does it mean to be so dominant to someone that you choose to inflict pain on someone you care about. And the reality is that that's why it's consensual, because when you just elicit pain on someone without their consent, that shit's abuse, and that's not cool. But sensation play sometimes involves pain, and that's just a sensation. When you take away the negative psychological impact, what you have left is pain and hopefully creating a positive psychological impact. But it definitely involves dabbling in things I think that a lot of people would view as sort of the darker side of the psyche. I like to kind of say, for me, because I do enjoy impact play and I do enjoy the pain aspect of it, it's sort of taking my monsters out for a walk. It's kind of, we all have little skeletons, we all have monsters. I just prefer to keep mine on a leash where I watch them and I give them a little fresh air now and then. I think there's quite a few challenges in being a BDSM practitioner. I think a lot of the challenges come in learning how to define it on your own terms and what it means for you. Because once again, media does a doozy on your association of what BDSM is. Once you find your voice, once you find where you want to go with it, other challenges arise. I mean, learning how to communicate and negotiate with others is a huge challenge, but we do that anyways. It's just a little more in your face when you're talking about safe, sane, and consensual sex, and yeah, it's definitely brought our communication issues to the forefront, but it's also made us recognize that in order to get better, you gotta the word right there is practitioner. You gotta practice if you want to get better, and a lot of that also comes with being okay with kind of sucking at first. Whenever you start something, you want to be good, you want to be great, you want to be impressive, you want to do things right, and create a pleasurable, maybe sometimes painful experience for another. And there's a big learning curve in learning how to do that properly. You don't just start off knowing how to swing a whip. You don't just start off knowing how to flog someone. You don't start off knowing about smacking someone without really hurting them, or the proper place to hit someone in the face, Those are things that you have to be willing to learn. And there is a challenge in that. There's a challenge in going into a community and not knowing anything and possibly making an ass of yourself. Then, more often than not, at some point you do. The rewards are fantastic, though. The parties are great. The communication that Alec and I have is phenomenal. It's honestly one of the strongest tools in the marriage toolbox, in my opinion, is what we have learned through our sexual practices and what we've learned about each other. I think one of the greatest rewards in my mind is being able to play and being very okay with it. We don't play enough. We hypersexualize things so much where there's this shame attribute to sex. And the reality is, for most of us adults, it's kind of one of the last frontiers that we do have, that freedom to play. And it's a shame that we don't take that creativity and run with it. It's such a creative outlet. It's creating pleasure for yourself and another. That's a joyful, wonderful experience. And if you move past those challenges, it really only gets better. You know, so whatever challenges that arise, I gotta say honestly, I love a good fucking challenge. So at the end of the day, bring it on. I mean, I have a tough skin when it's first brought out to me, and I gotta be honest, there's definitely been moments where I've like freaked out and been like, oh my god, we're never doing this again. We need it. But at the same time, it's always resulted in great conversations, and if there have been fights, they've been the constructive ones, the ones that you want to have, because they create actual results where, okay, shit, I know what to do now as opposed to later. I think there was shame for a while in thinking that what I wanted was selfish. What I enjoy goes against what a lot of perceived cultural norms are about feminine sexuality, which includes very subservient, quiet behaviors oftentimes, and submitting to males, and that has not ever really been me. What the fuck is a perceived gender norm? How did we even come across this concept? The biggest disservice we do to our society is really not letting younger people know that they don't have to fit into that. That's not normal. As fucked up as that is not normal. Sorry. Oh, Milo, I'm sorry, buddy. Come on, kid. You're okay.